Hey, everybody. It's the 4th of July on this particular day, which is a holiday, I suppose, and, you know, cool. I don't really do anything. I feel like it's become an excuse for things that I don't. I've talked about this before. I'm not getting into it here, but me and fireworks and the harm that they do to birds and the environment and everything now. So I didn't do anything special that day except go out in the morning to see birds like I've been doing every Saturday morning for, I think, most of this year. And I saw some cool birds. This is a female red-winged blackbird. And that's important because of something that I've started doing on my other site. One that is not public, but is cool. Where I look at all the different birds that I've seen, and I go through and I categorize them in different ways. This is something new that I've started that I'll probably be talking about here for a while. I needed something else to do. I needed something to continue expanding upon a goal. And I thought, well, it would be nice if I started capturing things in different ways, all the different behaviors I could have. So I thought about different ways that I could kind of categorize in my head and goals to start going for. So I would like to still get a portrait of a male red-winged blackbird. Nice and close up, plenty of detail. It's hard to make that happen, but it could, as opposed to where it's just in its environment or a shot where it's more landscape. This was just more of a photo of, this cool windmill and the trees and the sky was pretty. There's also a red-winged blackbird, but that's more landscape quality than anything else. Or, it in flight. This is one of my favorite photos from 7 years ago. Very cool. One of the earliest ones that I got that I just really went, oh, wow, look at the red on that thing. I had no idea because I'd never heard of red-winged blackbird before. I also am hoping to get one preening, feeding, or making noise at some point. Then do the exact same 7 over on the video side, and then the calls. And there may be more later on. I'm still kind of really working on the audio and learning the different things, but I know that birds make different calls as opposed to different songs, as opposed to some birds make noise when they're in flight. And there are probably others that we can do. And then I split them out even further so that I have the females separated out or the juveniles separated out. And I think I determined this would maybe not be the best possible quality, but the one that we saw on this particular day is preening, and I do think it's a juvenile more so than a female because of the way that it looks. I could be wrong. I don't know. But that's another thing I'm doing. So I thought that would be neat as a way to kind of look through and discuss that in the terms that this is something that I am doing now that I maybe was not doing before. It's just another way for me to expand upon the goal that I am doing is now I will begin capturing things in many different ways, which is exciting and gives me more things to do. Speaking of exciting, I'm going to try to wrap this up fairly quickly. We did see some pretty cool things out there. For example, how about a blue grosbeak? This is a young juvenile blue grosbeak. Seen from the parking lot right as soon as we got to this location. It was pretty cool and also very funny because the week before, one of the ladies who runs this event said, I want to see a blue grosbeak, and turned to me and goes, you, Michael, you make me see, you find the blue grosbeak. And I went, yeah, okay, I'll try. I'm pretty sure was my response. But then my photographer friend who was there hounded me the rest of the day and every other time I have seen her since to where's the blue grosbeak, which she couldn't come to this day, and this is when we saw the blue grosbeak. So that was pretty funny. And we also saw a second one. This is not, I don't think, the same one, because this one's got far more blue to it and different colors, but we saw this one as well. This would be an example of something calling. So for the photo, I got a photo of it beak open, making a call. Ideally, I'd like to capture the audio from it so I could have that as well. That was pretty cool. I'll give you another example. This is more of a landscape shot. I framed it more for the tree. When I was zooming in, it was very far away as well. So sometimes this happens regardless. Sometimes environmental shots and landscape shots are the best that I can do. And I'd rather take that situation and instead of just going, man, I didn't get anything, I could go, oh, well, I got a cool landscape because you could see kind of the foothills in the background and the tree with everything. We're still in that early morning sunrise. You get that golden hour, like, it's better than nothing. It's cool. So there was that. At one point we went over the water. We went to a lake and I got a heron in flight. I think this is pretty neat, the way you can see like the wings and everything. I also spent some time to the merriment of the other photographer who was there on this particular day, who saw me doing what I was doing and just kind of laughed and went, good luck, which was trying to get a shot of in-flight cliff swallow. And boy, did I spend a lot of time with the lens tracking and trying and tracking and trying. I am very excited to try it with another purchase that I may have made since this particular date. More on that later on. But I really wanted to get a photo of the cliff swallow in flight, and I did. I'm happy about it. It's a little overexposed on the bright parts. I could do a little better with the editing, but overall, a cliff swallow in flight is not an easy thing to get, and that was really cool. And then to jump straight to the highlight of the day, I've already tipped my hat a little bit on this when I showed my website, because it showed the total number of species that I have identified. 200. It's quite a milestone, and it's one I hit on this particular day without realizing it, because I thought I was at 199. I thought it was at 198 when I started the day, and then I went out and we saw the dick thistle. We heard it a lot, and this was about as close as we got there in the beginning, and I was afraid that was the closest we were going to get there for a while, but then saw it again, and I saw it again, and I saw it again, and I saw it again, and I'm pretty happy with this one here for more of a, not quite a portrait. It's got stuff in the way. Ideally, the portrait would not have anything in the way, but as far as calling goes, I did get this one kind of backlit by the time we saw this one. But anyway, turned out the dick thistle, very cool, new bird, never seen it before, heard about it, and told that we could see, that I could hear them here. So I was excited when I finally went to this place, because I kept going, oh, I'll go there on my own so I can see it. It was much easier to go when people were there to point it out and go, that's the noise that we're talking about. It makes this kind of a noise, and this is where we will see it. And I put it in my list. And over the course of the last few weeks, since this particular day of going out and shooting, I have been going back through my archive and entering old photos, because at some point I decided, rather than just tracking all of my highlights of my favorite ones, I should try to document every single bird that I see when I go out. If I get a photo of it, if it's possible, I'll just put that in my private website of like here, so that I can see everything when I get to the end of this, and it'll more data. Why not? And that also causes me to go back and look over photos, like one from 2019, fully 7 years ago, where I was in Florida on a vacation, and I took a picture of a bird in the sky and went, well, I don't know what that is. There's not nearly enough there to identify it. And then 7 years later, I'm looking at it again with the book, and I went, now, wait a minute. And I looked, and I checked, and I thought, and and then I put it in Merlin, and Merlin confirmed, and I went, okay, so it doesn't quite look like it. It's probably a juvenile. But it was a new species that I hadn't gotten. I don't have it off the top of my head. This was editing over a week ago, where I went, oh, that's 200 then. Oh, the dick thistle was 200. Cool. Woo! Except I was doing it super early in the morning at like 4:30 a.m. when I woke up early before work, and I was, having to be a little quiet. So, hey, 200, that's quite a milestone. This bird right here technically hit 200. I just didn't realize I already had 199 before this, because of the great crested flycatcher, I think was the bird, if I remember correctly, is one that I got a very, very poor photo of in Florida all those years ago, which took my number and put it one higher than it was. So, dick thistle. Technically and officially number 200, unless it turns out when I get back through, as I said, I'm only in 2019. I have 7 years worth of photos to go through and pull out all the ones bad or good in order to identify the birds. I'm thinking there's probably not too many more, because this is probably the 9th or 10th time that I've gone back through and been like, oh, that's a bird I didn't identify before. It counts. I have a photo of it. Let's identify it now. So technically, on this day, I got my 200th identified photographed. Well, not photographed, because some of them are video and some of them are audio, but the 200th identified species as of right now. That might change later down the road, but right now, this is 200, and that's really cool. And there we go. Great day out. It was fun. I enjoyed it. All right, bye, buddy.